for coming. Today's our seventh lesson, sixth subject, desire for popularity, our sixth of the 47 diseases of the heart. The previous one was desire for compliments and praise. So very similar, obviously, desire for compliments, desire for popularity, page 55. Very similar on so we'll be discussing the same kind of thing. So the definition is quite straightforward. And as usual, we want the definition of this disease, and as usual, one verse of the glorious Quran Kareem, and as usual, one hadith about this subject, and then one story, inshallah, and any other necessary points, the cures, etc. So, definition of desiring popularity, 4 lines down, the desire to be popular and respected. So it's self-explanatory, isn't it? It's very straightforward. The desire to be popular and respected. Whilst condemning desire of popularity, Hujjatul Islam Imam Muhammad Ghazali rahmatullahi stated, the objective of popularity is to create a status for yourself inside people's hearts. This desire is the root of all evil. The root of all evil, wanting respect, wanting status in the hearts of people. So in one sense, you want to own people's hearts, you want people to respect you. That's what desire for popularity is. You want people to respect you. ठीक है, hubbul jah. And this is the root of all evil. Wanting respect, wanting attention, wanting to be the center of attention is the root of all sins. In order to control this desire for popularity, we should contemplate about its perils as narrated in blessed ahadith. So contemplate, to remove this from your hearts, think about the harms of this. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah Almighty warns in His glorious Quran, and we've studied this same ayat and its tafsir in the previous. This same verse has come in the previous chapter twice. لا تحسبن الذين يفرحون بما أتوا ويحبون أن يحمدوا بما لم يفعلوا فلا تحسبنهم بمفازة من العذاب ولهم عذاب أليم. Never think of those who rejoice over their doings and wish that they'd be praised without doing any good deed. Never think that they are far from punishment and for them is painful punishment. This is the third time that we're studying this ayat karima. It's come twice in the previous chapter. And again, it talks about the Jews and the Christians. The Jews especially, they would be happy with doing wrong things. And secondly, they would like to be praised for things that they hadn't done. So Sadrul Afadil Allama Maulana Sayyid Muhammad Naimuddin Muradabadi rahmatullah elaborating in Khaza'in al-Irfan, this verse was revealed regarding the Jews who rejoiced whenever they deceived and misled human beings. Along with this, they possessed the desire to be labeled as scholars when in reality they were fools. Okay. So wanting people to go, you're smart and intelligent and an alim when you're not. This is, you'll be following in the footsteps of the Jews. Ruling, this glorious verse warns all self-conceited individuals, as well as anyone who wishes to be praised for a deed they have not done, or anyone who wishes to be labeled as a scholar even though he is not, or wishes to become famous for a quality that he does not possess. So this ayat karima is telling us it's haram to want to be praised for an action that you've not done. So not doing an action and wanting to be praised for it. The Sufia, there's this saying that in the previous eras, centuries ago, people used to do things, they would do good deeds and wanted to be praised for them. We're living at a time where people aren't even doing the good deeds and they want to be praised for them. We're sort of one phase ahead. We're not even doing good deeds and we're wanting to be praised. So that's an ayat karima. We've done the definition and we've done the ayat karima. Blessed hadith, a sufficient evil. Sayyidina Anas radiallahu anhu narrated that the Holy Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam warned, it is sufficient evil for a man that people indicate towards him with their fingers, i.e. they praise him, whether for a worldly reason or a religious one, unless Allah Almighty saves him. Okay. Um, so it is sufficient evil. Wanting to be praised, wanting fingers to be pointed to you, wanting to be the center of attention is enough. It's a big enough evil. The leader of believers, the lion of Allah, Sayyidina Mawla Ali Karamallahu Ta'ala, which Al-Karim stated, spend but do not desire fame. Do not elevate your personality in a way that you are spoken of and recognized by people. Rather, conceal yourself, hide yourself, and be silent. Subsequently, you will be safe. Righteous men will be happy with you, and evildoers will be angry with you. Okay, so spend, but don't spend uh, to be famous. Don't elevate yourself. Don't want to be recognized. Hide yourself. Be silent. Okay. So these are two ahadiths we've just studied. The ruling on desiring fame. Desiring public fame is a contemptible and terribly despicable emotion. On the other hand, anonymity is commendable. Anonymity, trying to hide yourself, uh, trying to hide yourself is commendable. However, if Allah Almighty makes a particular individual famous in order to preach His religion, whilst that certain individual does not personally wish to be famous, then there is nothing wrong with this. So if Allah gives you shuhrat, Allah gives you mal without you being greedy for it, without you being greedy for attention, Allah gives it to you. That's not a sin. That's not, you're not greedy for it. Allah's given you whatever wisdom He has. Desire for fame can sometimes ruin and abolish your faith. Desire for fame can sometimes make you a kafir. Therefore, it is imperative and necessary for you to save yourself from this. Okay. Sayyidina Bishr Hafi, rahmatullahi alayh, he remarked, he said, I am unaware of anyone who desired fame without his faith being obliterated and destroyed and him being disgraced and humiliated. So basically, Sayyidina Bishr Hafi is saying, I don't know anyone who's ever been greedy for fame and he hasn't lost his iman and he hasn't been disgraced. So the greed for fame can lead to a person becoming a kafir, losing his iman. So it's not a small thing. It's not a small vice. If we turn over, there's a story here. So as usual, every chapter we try doing a story, a verse of the Quran, a hadith, and a story as well. A parable. So if you look on page 58, parable, story, peculiar method of rebuking one's nafs. Sayyidina Abu Muhammad Murta'ish rahimahullah ta'ala narrates, I performed Hajj numerous times, most of them without any travel supplies. Okay, so most of them just like, going without any sort of luggage. However, one day it dawned upon me that I had been fooled by my lower inner self. I discovered this when my mother instructed me to bring her a container of water, yet my lower inner self hesitated to comply with her instruction. It was at that moment that I realized that my lower inner self had only agreed to perform Hajj in order to satisfy a discrete desire and that it had deceived me. Since if my lower inner self was subdued, then why did it vehemently hesitate to fulfill a religious obligation that day, obeying my mother? The moral of that story, he says that um, I realized that even my Hajj that I've done many times, I've done it to be famous or to be popular. So even Hajj can be done if the niyat, the discrete intention behind many Hajjs is wanting to be called a Haji or wanting to be called the guy who does Hajj every year, or the guy who's done Hajj 10 times or 20 times, or the guy who's never missed a Hajj. If that's the intention, then the sawab for Hajj is ruined. So sometimes that the story tells, and there's other similar stories where you can be showing off and not really know that you're showing off yourself. So sometimes we don't even know our intentions. We can be arrogant and not know that we're arrogant. We can be jealous and not know that we're jealous. We can have we can be doing an ibadat with the discrete desire for popularity but not realize it. So these inner diseases of ours, they're not really easy to spot as well. It's not just enough in every person in our community says, Many Rabb ki raza ke, I did such and such a thing, I did it for Allah Ta'ala. I was mukhlis, I didn't do it to show people. We all say that. And sometimes it's a lie. Sometimes the person who's saying that really believes he did something only for Allah Ta'ala, but he didn't. He's not aware of how his own nafs. You can be tricked into something. You can subconsciously be showing off, subconsciously want fame, but you can't detect you like any virus, like any physical virus of the body. You can be sick and not realize you're sick yourself. You can have a virus, you go through treatment, think, oh well, I'm okay now, but it's still there. Something's still there. So spiritual diseases, you can, after years, realize that I was showing off with something, whether it's namaz or with hajj or something. How you find out is just um, somehow or another, your nafs, its reality, it comes out. The truth of your intention just comes out intentionally or unintentionally. Uh, and the pleasure of desiring fame eliminates the stress of worship. This is a really important chapter. It's a deep one, but it's not beyond our understanding. It's not too deep that we can't understand. The pleasure of desiring fame, so the greed for fame eliminates the stress of worship. The greed for fame can eliminate the stress of worship. Anything, whether it's ibadat or something of the dunya, if it's really hard, doing a good deed, if it's difficult, and even if it's humiliating, but you know that at the end of this, there's fame and I'm going to get attention, it makes the difficulty bearable. But remember that you're not doing that thing for the sake of Allah, you're doing it for fame. Sometimes you can do a religious ibadat, looks difficult, whether it's yourself going through a lot of stress. It could be building a masjid, it could be anything. There's some examples coming up. You're going through a lot of difficulty, a lot of stress, or you see someone else going through a lot of stress for the deen. But if all that stress and all that difficulty, all that hard work behind that religious effort, whether it's someone else's or your own, if there was behind it a discrete desire to want attention, that attention makes difficult things easy as well. You don't get sawab for that thing. We'll look at this point. The Islamic brothers, do you see the Madani perception and tremendous humility of our pious predecessors? Some people have a habit of bowing their heads and acting humble in front of members of the public, whilst behaving violently, immorally, and sometimes hurtfully with their parents, brothers, sisters, wives, or children. So sometimes the people outside our home get our good character, our good face. It's our children, our wife that get our ugly face. Why? Because acting admirably in public earns them public fame, whereas the same manner of conduct at home is not usually expected to earn you any public fame or respect. Even if you're kind to your wife and kids at home, well, you're not going to get famous or anything. Four people, how much are they going to praise you? So even if they don't praise you, you're not bothered. But outside the home, character, if you're nice to everyone, you get the whole community talking well about you. So we can often have two faces, one ugly, one nice, and the nice one is what the public gets to see, and our family is blessed with the ugly one. But that's if if your character is really good, then you would have that akhlaq at home with your wife and kids as well. So it's easy. So we've been told that it's actually easy to have a good character, have a smile on your face in front of people, because at the end of the day, people are going to say, "You bada sharif hai, you bada achhe akhlaq ka banda hai." So just one thing, this discreet desire to have people say, "This guy's a decent guy." To have that title, he's a decent guy, and he's a good person. He's got a good character. I like him. These accolades can sometimes be. So not everyone who's smiling and who's meeting and who's humble, not every humility is for the sake of Allah and you get sawab for it. Someone's humble and good character, but behind it there's a discreet desire of wanting to be praised by people, then there's no, that's actually hypocrisy. That's hypocrisy. Okay. And the other reason it's so that's one reason you get fame for being smiley faced and cheerful in front of people. You don't get fame if you're always cheerful in front of your family. The other thing is it's easier as well outside other people. They're not with you 24/7. They just with you meet someone for 10 minutes and then you're gone. Your family, you're with them. They see your blessed face the first thing in the morning, the last thing. Uh, And before you go to sleep, you get all the grumpiness, and where you're tired and you're frustrated, you go home, they get to see the frustrated self. And people, you're just spending a few minutes with them, and then as soon as you get tired, you say, "Oh, I've got to go," and you leave. Um, so hence, why these people are extra kind in public. Number page 59. In a similar vein, there are Islamic brothers who are eager to make zealous, passionate sacrifices in order to carry out certain voluntary mustahab deeds, whilst at the exact same time they fail to notice their neglect for certain obligatory, further necessary wajib obligations, such as obeying parents, correct Islamic upbringing of their children, and the acquisition of personal essential further knowledge. Okay, so sometimes you'll see people who are paying more attention to nafals more than their first. You don't get a sawab for the nafals, even that gets suspended for as long as. Because if you do a farz, no one really praises you. If you pray in namaz, people don't really just say he prayed his zuhr today. But if you pray in nafals, it's like you're doing something extra. So not doing your farz and doing extras, it's like you're working for someone and you're not even putting in the your 9 to 5 hours, and you're asking him for what's it, a bonus time. You're asking him for overtime. You're asking him for overtime. Your boss is gonna look at you. You know, you don't even come 9 to 5. Yeah, you come late, and instead of 9 hours, you're doing your 4 hours, and you're asking for overtime. Do that first. So that's the example of someone who is not doing his faraid and then doing his nafals. For such individuals, the previous story contains extremely vital Madani admonitory pearls. In reality, the execution of good deeds that result in fame and popularity is usually easy rather than difficult. This is because the excitement of fame diminishes the stress of even the most difficult deeds. Remember, desiring fame leads only to devastation. Now, here are two prophetic warnings. Avoid contaminating your worship of Allah Almighty with the desire for public compliments, otherwise your deeds will be obliterated. That's a hadith. Hadith number 2. Two hungry wolves do not cause as much damage in a herd of sheep as do the love of fortune and fame to a Muslim's religion. Okay, that's a hadith worth memorizing. Two hungry wolves do not cause as much damage in a herd of sheep as do the love of fame and fortune to a Muslim's deen. So love of fame and fortune are two hungry wolves that destroy your deen. They destroy more than two actual wolves will destroy a flock of sheep or a herd of a sheep. So again, the point being repeated is sometimes we're doing nekiya. Even if you're putting a lot of effort into a neki, just because someone's working hard to do a good deed, whether it's yourself or someone else, does not necessarily mean he's sincere. Someone could be on the outside doing a lot of community work, okay, and does not mean he is sincere. So we obviously don't know what his intention is, and we're not obliged. It's not for us to figure out his intention. But it is for us to, if we're the person who's doing the community work, we're working hard, we're doing a lot of ibadat, we need to keep on asking ourselves, well, I'm not doing all this because I know that I hope there's no discrete desire that at the end of this there's going to be some fame or attention, in which case my intention's wrong. So doing something solely for the pleasure of Allah, ikhlas isn't just doing something free. Just because someone is doing something for the masjid free doesn't mean he's mukhlis. And just because someone is doing a good deed for the community and it's free, he's not getting paid, that's not 100% that he's sincere then. So sincerity is when you're doing it or solely for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. So there's no fame intended and there's no public admiration intended as well. Okay, so we can't really judge other people's intentions, but don't be good to pull people down. Don't be quick to pull people down. Don't be quick to lift them above your heads as well. सर पर बिठाने में भी जल्दी ना किया करें लोगों को नीचे गिराने में भी जल्दी ना किया. डोंट लोगों से मुतासिर होने या बदजन होने में जल्दी ना किया करें. Don't be quick to be amazed by people. Don't be quick to be put off people as well. It goes both ways. Don't be quick to judge people negatively. Don't be quick to be amazed by people as well. Okay. We're living in a time, this is to do with praise. We're living in a time when no one really uh, carefully weighs their comments and their words. We're living in a day and age where if people, when people praise someone, that is exaggerated, and when people condemn someone, it's exaggerated as well. तारीफ मुजम्मत दोनों मुबालगे के साथ की जाती है. We don't do anything balanced anymore. We don't think. People praise, they praise 10 times more than the person deserves. If people criticize, they criticize 10 times more than he actually deserves. You've got to be careful before you praise someone. Be careful before you criticize someone. Be careful before you're amazed by people, you're impressed. Don't be too quick to be impressed by people. Um, yeah, so just seeing someone smiling, the common thing in our community, seeing someone akhlaq and he meets everyone अच्छे तरीके से, common person thinks amazing, brilliant character. Someone with a bit more knowledge of his nafs and control over your nafs will sort of ponder, well, if he's doing that for fame, then there's nothing amazing about that. If he's not doing it for fame and he's doing it solely for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala, then that's amazing. Whether or not he's doing that for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala or not, you can tell by looking at all his actions. Someone who's really doing sincerely for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala will not be getting angry quickly, he will not be getting into arguments, he won't be a politician, he won't be stirring trouble amongst people, he won't be backbiting, he won't be gossiping. So if this guy is meeting everyone with his cheerful face and bowing whenever he meets them, and it seems to be like an immaculate character, but the moment you disagree with him, he unleashes a barrage of political games against you. Well, that shows you where his sincerity was. That shows you how sincere the person. If that person was, if he was about akhlaq and his character was for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala, but akhlaq and sincere people don't play political games against you just because you disagreed with the opinion of them. Okay. So that's one way you can tell. Like we've said previously as well, if you want to know how humble someone is, disagree with them. A real test of humility is how quick you are to admit a mistake or change an opinion. So even to test your own humility, have a disagreement with someone, or have someone disagree with you when they're right and you're wrong, and ask yourself how is your nafs screaming inside, or how quickly do you accept mistakes or change opinions. That's a really strong test of humility. Smiling at people when you're meeting them. Again, I'm going to repeat that sentence, that because we don't study these things, we don't study sincerity, we don't study what character is. We use these words in our community, but we misjudge character, we misjudge sincerity a lot in our community. We just, in our community, as long as someone doesn't disagree with you, and he's got a smile on his face whenever he meets with you, and he doesn't disagree with you, he's got a good character, he's sharif, he's decent, very good person, very noble man. The moment he disagrees with us, then the smiley face and nothing, it means nothing. So our judgment of sincerity and good character is very sort of off point in our community. I've heard people say fulan sharif hai, fulan decent hai, fulan mukhlis hai, Allah di raza waste karne. And I've been around those people. All I've seen is politics, backbiting, hating people, spreading hatred for people, swearing, gossip. Same people who I'd probably say that, yeah, these guys are like, this guy's a shaitan. Yeah, I hear 10 people saying he's mukhlis, he's decent, immaculate character, brilliant person. And I think the difference is, again, our praise for people is very self-centered. As long as someone doesn't disagree with us, he's a wali. The moment he disagreed with us, he's a devil. And that's a really bad, that's a very arrogant standard, a very arrogant criteria to have. So your sharafat revolves around me. That's a very egotistic, very arrogant way to live your life. I'm the center, I'm the pole. Sharafat and decency revolves around me. Anyone who disagrees with me is not sharif. So I'm the mark, I'm the benchmark of how arrogant do you have to be to make yourself the benchmark of decency. Some vital Madani pearls about desiring fame. And this is the last chapter in this, inshallah. So we'll try whizzing through it. The following are some Madani pearls pertaining to the disease of desiring fame from Ihya ul-Ulum. So remember, Ihya ul-Ulum is written by Imam Ghazali. So Imam Ghazali says, desiring fame and showing off is one of the final phases and internal deceptions that destroy your baser self. Page 60, scholars, worshippers, and travelers of the spiritual path are afflicted with this. At times, they make significant successful endeavors to worship, controlling their carnal desires, even abstaining from doubtful matters, which is a great sign of piety, as well as saving their limbs from external sins. However, they subsequently seek to please their egos by publicizing their good deeds, religious accomplishments, and struggles during their preaching of virtuous messages by making remarks such as, I did this, I did that, I delivered a public lecture in that venue, I am going to deliver a sermon in this venue, I have so many speech or not bookings, I stayed up late in the Madani Mashwara and did not get time to rest, hence why I'm exhausted and my throat sore. I will be traveling in a Madani Qafila. I have traveled to certain cities and countries in Madani Qafilas or for Madani work, for religious work. By publicizing their knowledge and good deeds, they enjoy the excitement of fame, recognition, compliments, and admiration. Once they are popular and admired, furthermore, their egos desire to publicize their knowledge and good deeds as much as possible in order to further increase this public veneration. Hence, they explore even more avenues to publicly expose their good deeds and intellectual talents rather than suffice with the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal. So we should suffice with the knowledge of Allah Ta'ala. I've done something, Allah knows that's enough. Suffice with the knowledge of Allah. I don't need people to know what I've done. Suffice with the knowledge of Allah. That's what sincerity is. Sufficing with the knowledge. Allah knows what you've done. Allah knows what you've done. Suffice with the knowledge of Allah Almighty, i.e., my Lord is aware of my good deeds and He is the one who will reward me. Rather, they enjoy public veneration and admiration without being content with the praise of Allah Almighty. Your ego is well aware that if people realize that you have abandoned your animalistic desires, you avoid doubtful behavior, spend extensively for Allah Almighty, endure intense stress for the sake of worship, cry and yearn extensively due to fear of Allah Almighty and love of His beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, partake in frequent Madani activities, yearn for social rectification, travel in Madani kafilas, frequently along with inspiring others to do the same, avoid sins and useless activities of your tongue. This is a long list of good deeds. So you avoid sins and useless activities of your tongue, eyes and stomach. You deliver several dars daily from Fazani Sunnat, or punctual in Madrasatul Madina for adults and awakening people for Fajr, or your local neighborly propagational circuit. Then once the public realized that you do all the aforementioned, they will praise you extensively, admire and respect you. They feel privileged and fortunate to meet you. In order to gain your blessings, they will humbly plead for you to bless their homes or shops for a short while. Visit them, pray for them, accept the tea or meal invitation, as well as consider your suggestions to be a means to felicity in both worlds. Your nafs, so these are just examples as well, when you become pious and you're doing ibadat, and then you can have, people will say, Huzur, can you come to my house or my shop, just do dua for barakat. And you like secretly having this secret desire, the people are calling me for barakat and I'm a blessed person for blessings. People consider it a privilege to have a cup of tea with me. People have, that's a sign of arrogance as well. That's, if Allah has given you that fame, you shouldn't have this desire in your own heart that people consider me blessed and consider me, consider themselves privileged to have a cup of me, accept a tea invitation or a meal invitation. Your nafs is aware that the public will serve you wherever they meet you and approach you to offer their greetings, express their wishes to eat or drink your leftovers, compete with each other to acquire a gift or any article touched by you. They will kiss anything that you bestow them, kiss your hands and feet, address you politely and subserviently with respectful titles such as Huzur, Ya Sayyidi, with their hands tied and heads bowed. They will request for you to pray for them. They will stand respectfully when you enter their gatherings, arrange for you to sit in respectable seats, stand in front of you with their hands tied, not precede you in eating a meal, humbly present gifts and offerings to you. They will humbly belittle themselves in front of you and behave as though they are your servants. If they sell anything to you, they will be extra generous by offering you good quality products at low prices or for free. They will respectfully bow in front of you while serving you. Public displays of admiration such as these are a source of tremendous delight for the ego, the nafs, a pleasure greater than all pleasures. A pleasure greater than all pleasures. When due to your ibadat, you're getting freebies, you're getting people are saying, Hazrat, I'm not going to charge you, I'm only going to charge you half price and all that. So having in yourself this desire, I want people to consider me neck and blessed and pious. This is a pleasure greater than all of the pleasures. People are serving you. The ecstatic joys that this kind of public devotion make it easy for you to avoid sins. Make it easy for you to avoid sins. This is because if you are suffering from the disease of desiring fame, then rather than tempting you to sin, your ego will actually entice you. Look, if you sin, you will lose these fans. These people admire you because you're neck. Then you're going to lose that fame. I want you to be famous, so don't do sins so that you stay famous. So your avoiding of sins is not for the fear of Allah Ta'ala, it's due to the fear of not being famous anymore. Consequently, with the support of your baser self and a desire to maintain an admirable image in the hearts of your fans, you will discover that the difficulty of worshipping persistently has become easy and convenient for you. Since internally you have discovered the most alluring of all pleasures and the most enticing of all desires, the pleasure of public admiration. You begin to live under the illusion that you are living for the pleasure of Allah Almighty and according to His will, but on the contrary, you have in reality devoted your entire life to satisfy that discrete joy, the desire for fame, which even the strongest intellects fail to detect. Even ulama can be trapped in this trap of the nafs, and they're doing ibadat, dars, imamat, thinking I'm doing it all for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala, but it's not. It's that fame and it's the fear of losing the fame. You assume that you are sincere in your devotion to Allah Almighty and believe yourself to be sinless. How wrong you are, since you are actually deriving extreme pleasures by glamorizing yourself and pretending to be someone that you are not in front of other people. You are elated with your public respect and popularity. Consequently, you ruin the reward for your worships and good deeds, and your name is registered in the list of hypocrites. Yet you fool, you are under the illusion that you are close to Allah Almighty. Okay. Some people think they're close to Allah, but they are far. Some people think they are far from Allah, but they are close. So you can think it's possible for someone to think that he's close to Allah, but actually be far. It's possible for someone to think that he's far from the mercy of Allah, from the pleasure of Allah, but he can actually be close. So that's the end of our chapter. That was like, it was a deep, there are definitely some points that are worth highlighting. Just a few out of the last 3 pages. There's at least 4 or 5 sentences. Don't end up highlighting it all, but there's definitely worth some of those lines are worth highlighting, and it needs to be reread as well. Like all of the chapters in this book, you need to reread. Treat this like a handbook of that you can come back to. You'll forget things. You'll remember with this jealousy, with this topic. You might forget the causes, or you might forget one of the solutions. So you find yourself treat it like a handbook, a tasawwuf handbook, going back to it. What was that solution? I'm feeling this problem inside me. What was the solution to it? Again and again. So the causes and the cures for desiring for popularity are the same as in the previous chapter. The 3 causes and cures for desiring praise. So that's our chapter 6 finished. And the definition of desire for popularity, a verse of the Quran, Hadith Pak. There was a story, and there were just some vital pearls about desiring fame. Any questions just to finish off? Yeah. 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 No, Zali's written on this. Carry on, keep on doing istighfar, because that person who's doing the mustahab work, make sure his mustahab work is beneficial. I think Imam Ghazali says, I'll bring this book, and I've got another Um, Imam Ghazali's written a few books, and one of his books is Kimya Sa'adat, and just the chapter on showing off. I think he says if someone's like doing speeches and his intention is not right, and he's not doing any useful speeches anyway, he said, get this guy. I think his words are some sort of the effect like, make him stop doing speeches. He's not benefiting. His niyat's not right. He's just committing a sin, and he's not really saying anything beneficial for the community either. So some people are just showing off, and even their speeches are not motivating. They're not teaching. In fact, the teaching is the wrong Muslim. But I think he's saying, I think Imam Ghazali says if someone's like preaching to people and he's struggling with his intention, but his speeches are motivational and there's good advice, aqidah, akhlaq, what he's saying is accurate, then don't stop him from doing speeches or don't stop him from doing darasis. Carry on. But like we said previously, and the Sufiya say, if you find yourself, whether it's doing wazifa, ibadat, any ibadat you do, whether it's farz or nafal or mustahab, you'll find riyakari coming in. Don't stop your ibadat. Just keep on doing istighfar all the time and always asking Allah for sincerity. So don't stop that neki, even if it's a mustahab action. Don't stop the neki because you fear, I'm doing this because I want attention. Well, cure that problem. Work on your sincerity. Work on your sincerity. Anything else?
You're feeling pious.
Yeah.
When you wear an imama or you wear a cloak, because you hardly wear it. Will that come under? Not that you have a desire to be praised, but you just get that feeling. And when you have it, you do actually do more about it. Not for people, you just do it. Will that be classed as that, or is that something totally different?
I think it's a tricky question. It's a tricky question because putting on imama can make you arrogant.
No, but you know inside you're doing it because you know it's just put it on. You don't wear it.
Well, again, there's both. Really do imama, ibadat, coming to class, teaching, can be with arrogance and showing off. It can be sincerity as well.
But
So
I can't. Does it when nobody can compliment you like at home?
That sounds like sincere. If you know,
so that wouldn't be classes.
Yeah. You just reminded me of something. I mean, I can't give a definite. He wore something, and that's not. He was definitely doing sincere. I can't say that. I can only give you advice, and you try to figure out whether yourself if you're sincere or not. But just off the, you just reminded me something that I wanted to say about the previous lesson. That when you home, you said he's doing it at home, something at home. The tricky thing is, Allah Hazrat said, Allah Hazrat Rahmatullahi Marfu said, you can actually show off in your house when no one's watching. And what did he mean? And I think the context in Marfuzat as well is someone's praying namaz alone. He's practicing how to pray really well alone, so that when he's in front of people, people say this guy prays namaz like a proper Sufi. And Allah Hazrat said, well, that guy is actually showing off alone as well, in the sense that he's doing something alone, and the intention behind it is so he can be praised. So you can even show off when you're alone in that sense. He said, you're preparing to show off, or you're training to show off. If you're doing something alone, just so that when you do it in front of people, they praise you. It's like you're training for the showing off. So we've got to be careful with that as well. Even when we're doing something alone, when no one's watching, the intention should not even directly or indirectly be someone praising. Very, very difficult. We've said before as well, ikhlas is the hardest thing for a Muslim. Ikhlas is the hardest thing. And hence why if you do succeed in doing something with ikhlas, even a small amal with ikhlas is an amazing, is very powerful. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, if you've got ikhlas, then only a bit of amal is enough for you. You don't have to be a massive abid, worshipping all day, all night. The ikhlas is very difficult. The Prophet ﷺ said, just a small amal is sufficient for your salvation if it's done with sincerity, but ikhlas is rare. That's part of the hadith as well. It's very, very difficult being sincere. It's easy to claim we're sincere. It's easy to say I'm doing something only for Allah Ta'ala's pleasure and I'm not doing it because of people. It's easy to say that, but to really do something where um, you don't want fame today or tomorrow, even though you're alone, no one's watching you, but you don't want people to find. You're not bothered about people finding out. To really be, and it makes your character strong. If you do succeed in doing sincerity, doing something with sincerity, number one, the ruhaniyat in that is amazing. Number two, it makes you really powerful as the confidence it gives you. It's like you're really unaffected by people around you. For as long as we're doing things for people or to please people, we're enslaved by them. We're depending on them. So we keep on talking about fame and fortune. Imam Ghazali says fame is more harmful, it's more dangerous than fortune. Once you get fame, the fortune comes as well. And a lot of the times the fortune is spent on getting fame. Okay? And fame, like we kept on studying that complicated 2 or 3 pages at the end was sometimes when you know something's going to get us fame at the end, even if it's really, really difficult, we'll do it. But the nasha of fame takes the difficulty out. Circuses, clowns, cranks, people are doing all sorts of silly things, making themselves look stupid, but they're doing it very happily because they know if it's going to end up in likes, if it's going to end up in popularity, it takes away the stupidity from the whole thing, even though it's stupid. It takes away the embarrassment when you know it's going to lead to fame. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand that.
Understand yourself. Happy in your heart with what you do. Happy to show.
Yeah, you're happy that you actually do something good.
In your heart. You said Mama Sharif, what you do in this heart. Mama, you're happy in your heart.
Just looking, Shahil, there's I know it's 22 past. I know you brothers want to leave. Just give me 1 or 2 minutes. Like I said, I can't. It's not my job to pinpoint. It's not my job, and I can't. You were sincere. You're not sincere. You did that. All of this was to judge ourselves and not be quick to hold someone else sincere as well. And until you've understood what sincerity is and what showing off is, there's a really good quote. We did it in our 77 branches of faith. Only a sincere man knows what showing off is. It's only when you're sincere that you know what showing off is. Yeah, without understanding sincerity, you can't really tell who's sincere. We have in our community, ये बंदा मुखलिस है, अल्लाह की रज़ा के लिए कर रहा है या मैं अल्लाह की रज़ा के लिए कर रहा हूँ. Until you understand it, you can't tell whether you're sincere or whether someone else is. And before you understand what it is, don't just give that label to people. The danger of, we all know the danger of criticizing people too soon because you spoil their reputations. The danger of elevating people who don't deserve it, that's very dangerous as well. You can give them positions in the community which they don't deserve. Once they're in positions, they control and manipulate the community and they just increase ignorance and arrogance. So don't elevate people and make them in controlling positions when they aren't sincere. And you thought they were sincere, but you didn't understand what sincerity was yourself. But obviously, this is not a straightforward subject. Ikhlas is the most important thing that we can study and that we can work towards. It's not meant to be easy. It's very discreet. Showing off, we studied a hadith, I think it was in the previous chapter or the one before that. Showing off is more discreet. Hadith Pak, it's a hadith of the Prophet. Showing off is more discreet than a black ant walking on a rock in the night, the way you can't see it. You can be showing off and not see your showing off. We did that in, and that's a hadith of the Prophet. I'll answer. I can see Mr. Akbar wants to go as well. I think 1 or 2 other brothers want to go. We'll finish the lesson off there. Shahid Bhai has asked an important question. Being happy whenever we, I'll leave that for, I'll either put it on the group or I will talk about it tomorrow, inshallah, if I can. The question was being happy when we do something good. Well, are we not allowed to be happy at all? is all happiness a sin? Or are there sort of cases where depends on why you're being happy, what the intention is? Well, this happiness over a good deed, you've done a good deed and you were happy. Well, if it was for this reason, then that's wrong. If you're happy and it was for this reason, then that's okay. That's not showing off. Being happy on doing a good deed, one being praised, inshallah, I'll either type that up for you or I will discuss that in tomorrow's lesson. Is that okay, Shane? Just because I've been going on for 40 minutes. And Jazakallah khair for everyone for turning up. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أستغفر الله may Allah give us all ikhlas, give me ikhlas as well. A lot has been said. Yeah, you can be close to Allah Ta'ala and you can think you're close to Allah but be far. Some people think they're close but are far. Some people think they're far but they are close. To be close to Allah Ta'ala, you don't have to always be telling yourself, I'm neck, I'm neck, I'm neck. You can be neck, but be thinking that you're the biggest sinner on the planet. To be neck and to be close to Allah, you don't have to be saying to yourself, I'm really close to Him, I'm close to Him, I'm close. You don't have to be saying that. In fact, if you look at all the seerahs of the Sufiya, they will consider themselves to be big sinners. Yeah. So to be close to Allah Ta'ala, we don't have to be telling ourselves that we're close, exception. Jazakallah khairah for your time and your attention and your patience.